How's it going? Welcome to Movie Mudnate Madness today. Today we'll be discussing Captain Marvel, the 21st MCU film featuring a full female lead role character. It is directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, and they have directed some independent films, not something that I would know myself. They directed the film called Mississippi Grind and Sugar. But this is basically their first huge blockbuster film that they've ever written and directed, and I'm glad they've had the opportunity to do that. Hopefully they'll be able to direct other films in the MCU category. I have read, however, they possibly could be in the line of directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This film, guys, starting out, it's going to show Carol Danvers is the character you guys know in the comic books as Captain Marvel. You're going to see her go through a lot of journeys, voyages. You're going to see her go through a lot of things of nicks and hits and twirls. I just want to tell you that as I was watching the movie, I didn't get a single ounce of feminism out of it whatsoever. I just want to put that out there just right off the bat. I didn't get any of that out of it. What I got out of the film was a woman who found herself. She found out that she was capable of doing more than her original self. She ranked up through the top of everybody that she's ever known to been around and became something very powerful. And she is a character that is needed also as a small story, but will become enrolled in a much larger, elaborate story. So guys, this character was much needed to be delivered to us in this film. And however, it may not be a Guardians of the Galaxy, it may not be an Infinity War, and it may not be an Avengers film whatsoever. But her role that she did was exceptionally enthralling. I loved it. Every twist and turn and every fate of the storyline that came upon us is great. Samuel Jackson, you see him as a supporting character as well. You're going to see Jude Law, which plays a squad leader that helps out through this force called Star Force. You guys may know in the comics, and I'm just getting up to par with some of the comics myself. I will say that this movie filled in major gaps, showing other Marvel characters as well, and I don't want to spoil it at all, but it's well worth the watch. The main thing I just want to say about the film is A, she shows what she's capable of doing in the film. B, you find out who she once was on Earth. You find out who she becomes, which of course is Captain Marvel. And we actually get to see the MCU present to us what her powers are and what she's capable of doing. That way, whenever we get this film called Endgame delivered to us, we're capable of seeing the journey as she goes from one step to the next step. So, from what I understand, this is part of Phase 4 in the MCU universe. So, this is going to be just a few steps we're going to see with Brie Larson as her character of Captain Marvel in developing into something much more richer and broad. I honestly loved it. The opening sequence even was beautiful. It showed the city that she lived in and she occupied, and where she trained as a part of that elite group, that force. In this storyline is known from the comic books as well, that I'm not affiliated with, but just explaining from the trailers, it shows that these group of alien race of beings called the Skrulls are something not to be reckoned with. They're something that's really a powerful influence in the film. Of course, the lead actor for the Skrulls you'll recognize is Ben Hiddleston, and he's somebody that I don't really know many films that he's been in. I didn't keep up par with some of the films he's been in, but he did exceptionally well, especially the makeup and the costumes in the film. It was just amazing. I definitely much loved the cat that's in it. Of course, you got Goose. It's in the trailer. I don't want to spoil anything. His character in the film was great. It was funny. Something that is almost much needed for something larger that you'll see that's thrown in there. I thought that Brie Larson, I don't think that she was as dry as some of the critics claim that she did. I thought that for what she had been through in her life and what she was trying to figure out, you as well as seen as in the previews that it seems like that she was missing gaps in her life, like she had some memories or some things that she was trying to put together to form a stronger person, and she didn't really realize or know who she had come from. And that's kind of somewhat spoken with in the movie. You see this dynamic hero type film with Samuel L. Jackson, where they're basically a duo and they're solving things as they're going through the sledges and learning who each other is. You'll notice, you see Nick Fury, a young Nick Fury as is, you'll see that the amazing, spectacular effects they're able to do to enhance his youthfulness, so we kind of get to see that as well. But a lot of the critics that I do read on YouTube and watch, a lot of them like to bring up the same things, and I just honestly want to be original. Set aside the special effects they use with making him younger and the cat you hear about. I will share with you that there's a character in there that's much needed with the rest of the MCU that I thought was a great influence in the film. I thought the special effects they used whenever she developed into this character, Captain Marvel, was breathtaking. I never thought in a million years they would take the technology and knock it up a notch like they have, and bring her character to the point to where you're voting for her, you're rooting for her, you're saying, especially in the beginning for me, I loved it in the beginning, I loved her from the beginning, but at the end, you're definitely voting for her. You know that seeing the powers that she possesses, that there's going to be a couple steps in that doorway when Thanos comes around the corner, you're going to know that he's reckoned with more than he can bite off. Trust me. Her performance in that was exceptional. Understand, guys, as well, is that Captain Marvel, with being the first solo female character in the Avengers, not counting Scarlet Witch, and we're not going to count Black Widow, because I believe in the long run they will get their film. They will get their independent film for themselves, or their solo run films for themselves. I'm sure that Kevin Feige, I'm sure that he knew exactly, him and the rest of the writers knew exactly what was gonna bring to our attention. But for right now, they decided to make Captain Marvel as the film that's female, and it's empowered, it's moving. It shows that anybody, anything, no matter what area of life they're in, can find the inner parts of them that's bringing them down and bringing it up through the ranks to pull out your worst self into your better self. So I found this film inspirational. I thought it was phenomenal. It was no doubt something that I would watch again, and I definitely need to see it again, because I appreciated the character that will play in as well, again, as you guys know, as an Endgame. She will be one of the leading characters in Endgame. From all the reviews and critics and some of the stuff that I've researched, they're setting aside and saying out loud pretty much that she is the most potent, powerful, dynamic character in the whole cinematic universes of Marvel. There's some argument on there where some people say that Thor is more powerful, especially in the comics, which I followed up today and learned a little bit, that Thor is supposed to be way stronger across the board in the comics. Any of the games they put out, any of the little fan books, Thor is more powerful. But for right now, they have decided for sure that Captain Marvel is way more powerful than any being in the universe. Other than, of course, we can't really say that for Thanos. What the fuck? Thanos has a responsibility with the gauntlet to show what he's been wanting to show everybody to begin with. He snaps the fingers, everybody, Thanos disappears. Captain Marvel has no idea what's going on at this point, and it just leaves us to the bigger picture. And I'm excited to find out what's in stake for Endgame, to be honest. I don't know. Everybody has their theories they're throwing around out there, what's going to happen. I know that I personally had read something a few months ago that Doctor Strange is supposed to come up with some type of, I wouldn't say a potion, but some type of magical spell mixed with Ant-Man's formula with shrinking things down in the subparticle world. They're supposed to take that technology mixed with Doctor Strange, is his potions, and supposed to put possibly Thanos in a realm that he can't be touched or messed with. That very much may be. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out, though. Here and there, I'll go down through some of the people that actually post quite interesting things with the Marvel Universe. They'll show the comic books and things. But to get back to the film, guys, Captain Marvel, no doubt, is a treat to its own, and it's well worth sharing with friends and family. And I admire the hard work and dedication that Marvel have brought to us and given to us. And I have to say that I give this film at least a 3.5 to 4 stars out of the rest of the DC universe, just movies in particular. And I think, like me and my brother had talked about a couple months prior around the holidays, he believes that it's hard to even rate films in the MC universe, the DC universe, because he feels as well as I do, they're in a dynamic film or genre of its own. You just really can't label how great a Marvel film or DC film is compared with the other films throughout the year, like the dramas, the thrillers, the suspense, the horrors, the comedies. So with this film being the 21st film of the MCU franchise, I'm going to have to say out of all of the films that we have watched with it, I'm going to give it a 4 stars out of 5. And it is the first female solo film that MCU has put out. And I have to give them props for the origin. I think the camera editing and the cinematography was very nice. I think that the writers and directors had it well down to the core, at least to get us anteed up, to get us built up for what Carol Danvers has in store for the rest of the Avengers and what she can't deliver. We don't know what she can do really when it comes down to this drama that we see with Thanos and the responsibilities that smart-ass Robert Downey Jr. and, of course, Chris Pratt, they're a hoot to have on screen. To see Captain Marvel, talking alongside with those two characters, I think is going to be unique. But all in all, guys, I think Captain Marvel is definitely something you guys should check out and go watch yourself. Don't listen to any of the critics online. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but I'm sure most of the people on YouTube that I've listened to, in my opinion, they've been dead wrong, in my opinion. The idea of talking about the bigotry and how some of the Disney executive producers or the writers wanted to make it out to where the Skrulls, the alien race that you'll see in the film, of course, that Carol Danvers batters with her squad, the Star Elite squad. But I don't think that they make any of those parables. And when I go see this film, I don't think of it as something that's the media or the writers are trying to put a parable up to how society is happening. I think the writers and screen directors, or the people who actually wrote the original comics, intended, as they sat down and wrote this, they intended to entertain the people. They intended to embrace and bring up this great story and concept, not only to entertain each other, but to entertain the people and the followers of the comic franchise. And I also want to say that Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, she is somebody that whenever the artists were writing her and they were writing about her stories, they wanted to give the females a great story for themselves to be inspired, right alongside their boyfriends. Where, the boyfriends, they would get to see their Captain America and their Iron Man, and they thought that the females deserved some type of heroic role model to look up to sit right next to their boyfriends as they read their comics, back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and all those era of the Stanley comics were being written. And I embrace what Stanley's done. I think that it's great that we get to see a cameo role with him in the film, of course. I don't want to run that for you. I'll give you that little bit of spoiler. But I think it's great that what Stanley has done with the franchise and what he's allowed the writers to do. But,
ladies and gentlemen,
and
the one and only, Mr.
I
Stanley.
feel very bad that Stanley didn't get to sit around and see the bigger picture and what they delivered. And I don't know if he actually got to sit down and see at least some of the raw material that Disney had in store. But I just want to say that I appreciate you guys watching. I just want to say that Captain Marvel is a phenomenal MCU film, and I can't wait to talk about some other things down the road we can talk about. You guys, if you don't mind, if you guys like this review, you guys subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And you guys hit the like button too, smash that for me. I greatly appreciate it. And just know that we're going to have another video for next Monday for Movie Madness Monday. So you guys just stick around, and you guys have a good one. We'll see you then. Bye-bye now. See you later. Bye.
I'll be a freakazoid. Come on and wind me up.
Lights gone out, but have no fear. You're closer now, the stars appear.